what is going on in the EV world right now? uh, you know, there's been such an enormous push, and this is not a political question, but it is a product question because you're a product guy.
Yeah.
Um, do consumers just not appreciate EVs yet? Is the chicken and the egg with infrastructure? What's your view on it? And if you were sitting in your former role, would you be scratching your head going, well, I guess we'll switch out to hybrids now?
Well, I mean, as you know, Jason, I'm a big hybrid fan,
Yeah. Yeah.
and hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and EVs. You know, I don't know if my hindsight's 2020 on this, but from an engineering point of view, um, the first thing I will say, and this isn't, from Singer or from Ford Automotive, this is just Raj.
Yeah. Right.
I personally do believe that climate change is a very real threat, and there's a lot of good scientists at Ford that did a lot of good work and came to the same conclusion. A lot of good scientists everywhere come to that conclusion. So the need to reduce greenhouse gases is real. The automotive industry's responsibility within that is real. But it's a very complex equation on how to get there. And consumer taste is one aspect, engineering capability is another aspect, and the economics is certainly an aspect. I always felt like the consumer acceptance of an EV, that challenge was never about how the vehicles drove. Anyone who's been in an EV,
Yeah.
um, I've yet to hear someone first time they got an EV that said that was worse than I expected, right? Most
Mhm.
of them are surprised how well they drive, how fun they are to drive, how quiet they are. So the acceptance of an EV by the consumer or just on the attributes of what a vehicle needs to do, I think was always overstated. The range aspect is real. And particularly for those who are not just doing a daily commute, the range is fine for the daily commutes. And if you have somewhere to charge, it's no more inconvenient than charging your phone, right? If you don't, if you're parking on the sidewalk or the street, then it's a different challenge. But those aspects of range anxiety on long trips and the recharge time is real. Um, and so that's the aspect of what engineers need to figure out and how to improve. But the economic aspect is also real in that still, the batteries are still much cheap or becoming much cheaper than they were, but the economics for the consumer of what you save on fuel, on gas per week versus the incremental cost of the EV, still doesn't make sense. Now, do I think consumers are doing that math? Probably not. But do I think in a secondary way they get it and they've been able to figure out this doesn't quite make economic sense for me? Yeah. In the end, the economics never goes away.
Yeah.
And so I do think that you've come on this point when the incentives aren't there to fund it. Um, the economics eventually catch up to the pure EVs. What I do think what gets lost in this is how good the hybrids and plug-in hybrids are. They're complex, they're hard to do, they're even harder to explain to a consumer. But reducing your greenhouse gas footprint, not having a compromise on range and refuel, particularly a plug-in hybrid, if your commute is in that 35-mile range, you probably can find a plug-in hybrid that is going to be on battery for most of its drive cycle.
Yep.
And for me as an engineer, it's hard to see that technology there and not be as supported because it's not a pure EV. It still does have internal combustion engine. But if I were to look at the combination of the economics and the engineering and the consumer challenges, there's a category and a technical solution that could do a lot of good for the planet.